Hello there, and happy lunchtime on the West Coast. I'm going live today for a very special interview with Lucy, who is a person that joined us for one of our programs for people with post-concussion. And so I'm going to get Lucy on here and introduce myself. So if we haven't met, my name is Julie Hirschberg, and I am a neurologic physical therapist, the owner and founder of Reactive Therapy and Wellness. I'm here in our brand new space, which is in El Segundo in California. And I have the great privilege to work with our team here and screen people for our programs. And our concussion program is just one of the things that I'm so very proud of. So Lucy, when you join me here, if you can ask to join the live video, I will add you in here because I'm not sure that I see you on here yet. And Sue's here. I want to say hi to Sue. Hi. I'm so glad that you're here. And Lucy, let me just look here. This is some of the fun of doing something. Oh, there, Lucy, this is you. Lucy has this fabulous picture of herself in a tree. Lucy, I'm gonna try to add you on here. Join live. I'm so excited for you to meet Lucy. Lucy got to work with our great team here.
Hey,
Yes.
how's it going?
Hi. Good. Oh my gosh. So great to
Nice
meet you,
to
Lucy.
meet you too.
Yeah. What I love is that it took us a while to find a time to get together because you're busy back in school, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is
That's the good thing. Yeah.
that is the good thing. I know. I was like, oh well, let's like get you through like all of your tests and everything, and like wait
Yeah.
until you have time. So that is like my favorite thing when I'm scheduling these interviews is that people are busy because they are living again. So
Exactly.
thank
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me. Your team says hello, by the way. You
Awesome. Cool.
have a fabulous team. Um, but as you know, we do these videos to share a little bit of your story, your journey, and so I wonder if you can share people a little bit about yourself and your concussion journey that got you to the place of working with us at Reactive.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I was in school. I go to Davis and I was boxing and I got hit in the head like 20, 30 times. And yeah, yeah, I
A
know.
lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then yeah, I started having all these vision problems and I ended up having to come home and I started having like blurry double vision, had terrible memory, couldn't really do much. And I ended up seeing a concussion clinic at UCLA, and they were like, "You gotta go to reactive." And at that point, to be honest, I wasn't really, it was weird. I wasn't in control of my life anymore as a college student because I couldn't remember anything, couldn't really walk down the street by myself. So it was weird. So my parents took care of all of it, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna do this." And yeah, that's how I got to reactive.
So yeah, I mean, I think you speak on something like so common with any kind of neurologic injury, but especially concussion, when you're having a hard time with your memory and thinking and all of that, and you're a college student where that is like the number one thing. It's hard to manage all of these pieces. So you took time off of school then, right?
Yeah, I took like
Yeah.
6 months off of school. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And you're local to us, and so you started working with PT and OT,
Yeah.
I think initially, right? And I wonder and eventually also working with our psychology team as well. But tell me a little bit about what what that process was like for you working with a team and maybe some of the things you learned from them.
Well, I think first of all, it was a really weird experience because before I did go to like a different physical therapist, but I think the main thing was I had terrible interoception. I had no idea what was going on. I
Mhm.
wanted to keep working out. So I would keep working out and then I'd have like a heart rate of like 200 or whatever and I would feel really sick and dizzy and I still like was seeing double and blurry and it was really and no one could sort of figure out why and then once I came to reactive it was so weird but I had such a confidence that I would get better because they were like, "Oh, I've seen this before." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'll be okay." And so I think also I was someone who just kept doing things. So
Mhm.
working with OT and learning about pacing and slowing down to like calm down my nervous system was like super helpful. And sort of combining that with PT, like when I would go to PT, we'd do pacing too, because otherwise I'd be like gagging, which, not
Not
ideal.
good. Not,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
ideal. Not
yeah.
ideal, Lucy.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that really I think it really helped to have that sort of like integrated approach in terms of also just sometimes I'd say something in OT and then she'd go tell my PT what to do based on like the symptoms I was feeling and I found all of that like super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually could like see that. I get to be kind of behind the scenes in a lot of the teams, and I see that like communication going like, we just finished OT, and so this would be really helpful. Yeah, it is really
Yeah,
helpful
it's
to see.
yeah.
And you're so like so many of the people we work with also like part of it's probably just your nature to be like, let me push through and let me stay active. You're really like athletic and active. So, and then it sounds like you learned, okay, but I need to pay attention to some signals from my brain and body so that you
Yeah.
don't overdo it. Is that right?
For sure. And I think what really helped me was like the HRV tracking because I was very lucky that my symptoms correlated with like changes in my heart rate variability. Really, it was like really obvious. And I had no
Okay.
sense of it, like zero. I was like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then I'd be gagging. So it was great that I could just like wear this little device that would like buzz. And then I'd be like, okay, it's break time. And
Yeah.
that way I didn't have to worry about it and I could just sort of go on with my day, but integrate strategies like using weighted stuff and fidgets and all this sort of stuff I would never use, but worked.
Yeah. When I was going through some of the things that you have this like, um, discharge summary report and your home program, you had so many sensory things on there. I was like, okay, this was like a lot of fun. It sounds like you
Yeah.
discovered a lot of things. So you mentioned a couple of them like fidgets and weights. What are some of the other things that you discovered that were maybe even surprising to you that were helpful?
Um, so basically, every time I was super symptomatic, this is really weird. I would sit in a hammock, and I felt so much better in the hammock. So
You
actually,
did.
at my house when I was still like blurry double vision, I used to close one eye and do stuff. And I actually built like an A-frame with a hammock in the middle of my living room. My parents are so supportive, like insane. And I was like, this feels so nice because I could go do my exercises or whatever, and then I would just sit in the hammock and like chill, and I would blow bubbles. That was another thing that really helped me, which is yeah,
I
it's a
love it.
little weird, but it worked. And I was like, I'll do it. It works.
It's not weird or reactive. I'm going, oh yeah, 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 like hammocks and bubbles all day long for everybody. But I mean, but honestly, not everybody. Like for some people, the hammock is really dysregulating, but
Yeah.
that's like what you needed. And I love, like, I'm imagining this A-frame in your living room, and I'm just loving the image
Yeah.
of the hammock. And are there things that you're still so? Well, maybe you should share. Where are you now? You're back at school.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening for you?
So I'm back at school, which is amazing. Like my first quarter was rough, to be honest, but it I was told it was gonna be rough, and I had like an amazing team behind me, and they were like, "Yeah, you have to stop every 3 minutes when you're walking and do some belly breathing and stuff." And so it was more just like getting myself to be in that environment and tolerate different environments while
Mm-hmm.
also incorporating like strategies like the abdominal binder, which not a good look, but it's very helpful and like noise canceling stuff. So, but now like it was like every quarter I would build up. So like my first quarter I took nonsense classes. my second quarter I took like one STEM class, and now I'm in like three STEM classes, and I'm fine. So it's like building up and
Wow.
using strategies really, I think, was the key for me. And also just
Yeah.
like creating an environment. Like I think that was the biggest part with OT was like
Mm.
she called it my reactive toolkit. So
Oh,
it was like a bin of stuff in my room that I can use if I'm like dysregulated. And that was super helpful, I think, for me at
yeah.
least.
Yeah. I had none of those tools going into college. I certainly
Yeah.
could have used them with, I think us as humans probably need these things. On a
Oh yeah.
day-to-day basis. But yeah, I love that. So you kind of had this gradual reintroduction to school. And you have your toolbox, and it sounds like you're tolerating more and more.
Oh yeah.
Where would you say you are right now? Like maybe what like percentage improvement do you feel that you're at?
Probably around like, I don't know, 75, 80% there.
Yeah.
Like in terms of exercise, I want to, keep growing and keep getting better because like I used to run a half marathon. I could just like spontaneously do that. So that's a lot. Yeah, I was like really
Yeah.
active. So I just want to get back to like running and doing that stuff. But like in terms of school and my ability to like think, it's so much better. And I've realized that like every quarter it's sort of just getting better in terms of cognition and all of this stuff. And I think it's because I had this like integrated approach. And also I had like my therapist who were like, hey, I think maybe like maybe we should try some meds. And they would like tell me which meds and be like, go bring them up to your doctor. And all this stuff really helped me sort of adjust to school
Mm.
and be able to like function and do stuff, which is amazing.
Yeah. That is amazing. And being in college, somebody asked kind of about vision, and because you had mentioned double vision, being in college is so much reading. And I'm really curious, and this person was curious too, if well, where's your vision at and your reading now? And did you incorporate some things, vision exercises or things to get there?
Oh yeah, so I think vision exercise was a huge component along with like cervical stability because I didn't know this, but my neck was affected, and as soon as we started working on my neck, I started to be able to like see. So doing both like vision exercises, vestibular exercises, and then also like working on my neck all integrated together sort of was the key for me, I think. And like in school, it was like at first it was pretty hard to like read stuff like 10 minutes of reading knocked me out, didn't feel great,
Mm.
but I sort of built it up. And then also, I use Speechify, and I would like have Gwyneth Paltrow read to me on Speechify because I don't know, her voice was just so compelling when she like talks about neuroscience or whatever. So that really helped me, like just using different strategies.
I'm gonna have to try this. That sounds so
So funny.
great. That is
Oh
so
yeah,
great. And I mean, honestly, so wait, what are you studying, Lucy? Because you sound like a pro at all of
I'm
this.
studying
Okay.
neuroscience.
Okay, that's what I thought
Yeah.
because I was like, oh my gosh, Lucy, you should be a clinician like right now.
Yeah.
Because the way you talked about the integration, like a lot of folks who have visual symptoms, they're like, well, maybe I should work on my eyes, which the
Yeah.
eyes, of course, are part of that. But it's like the eyes integrated with the vestibular, integrated with the neck, integrated with your sensory
Oh yeah.
system that are actually so important. And having some strategies so that you don't have to go from like zero reading to like thousands of pages of reading overnight. Like having Gwyneth Paltrow read to
Amazing.
you just sounds fantastic. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
it is. It is. It is. Much more entertaining.
And I love that you like I see you getting back to half marathons. So where are you now? But some of that exercise and autonomic stuff just takes time. So where are you now with just kind of like your activity and exercise capacities?
Yeah, so I can lift weights, which is fantastic because I used to lift weights and I did it kind of through this entire process, but
Okay.
like slowed down, of course, for a while. So I go to the gym, I lift, I take breaks, I do belly breathing. I'll take a plate and I'll put it on my legs and I'll just sit there with with like the plate on my legs because apparently I really like weight. And
Yeah.
actually, my roommate, when I'm really in trouble, will sit on me, which is the funniest thing ever. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know what you need," and he just sits on me, and I'm like, "This is fantastic. Life is good." So yeah, I mean, I can run around. I can do like weight training. I'm getting back into like jogging. I can walk for like 25 minutes, which I couldn't do before at the start of the
Right.
like school year. I couldn't do
Yeah.
any of it. So for me, I was like, that's a big deal. Obviously, I want to get back into like running and stuff, but I guess it all takes time and like
Yeah.
especially with the autonomic stuff, I've noticed it takes a little bit longer. Like I tried doing the chops protocol and it was just not for me. I was like, this is too slow and
Yeah.
boring. But
It's so
now
boring.
it's so boring. But I think that's the best part is that like I told my PT, I was like, I can't do this. This is so boring. And we sort of switched gears and now
Yeah.
I'm improving.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. I find all of those protocols incredibly boring, but it's the idea behind them and like can we make them fit for you to be fun, to use weight like that is so helpful for you. I find it hilarious that you're some people have their dogs sit on them, some people have
Yeah.
their roommates sit on them. Like same
Exactly.
thing.
Same thing, same thing.
Same thing. Very helpful, like clearly. Clearly the weight and the sensory piece is really helpful
Oh yeah.
for you, which is like that is like that's like my personal love, but it's such a
It's
big
me too. I
such
love it. I love
I
feeling.
know, maybe it's yours too. And okay, so you're back to classes, you're getting back to activity, you're starting to build up, and like I love that you're like, I want to run, but I know it's going to take a little while, like heart rate
Yeah.
wise. I know you described too, I think was it the leaf that you use the
Yes.
for the heart rate variability feedback? I also used that and I would like have no idea what was
Yeah.
happening until it would buzz at me. So I learned a lot from the leaf. But if people were curious about what that was, somebody is asking about Speechify. So maybe you could
Yeah.
share exactly what that is.
Oh yeah, so Speechify is just like it's a speech to text app, but I
Okay.
found it to be the best one of all of them because you can use it as a Chrome extension. So for your homework, emails, like textbooks, I found it really helpful, especially like books, because I think that's a
Mhm.
hard thing for especially college students if you're taking GEs, lots of reading and stuff. So I would
Yeah.
like go and I could listen to my book at 2 times speed or whatever, because I just don't have the attention span for that. But I would, I think I found it like profoundly helpful in that way. So it's just an
Yeah.
app, but it's, I
Yeah.
think,
I didn't realize it was a Chrome extension too. So
yeah.
that I'm learning here. I always learn so much when I'm chatting with people. So yeah, so Speechify an app and it will take what you're reading and speechify it,
Yeah,
basically. Put it
yeah.
into words. Yeah, that is really cool. That is really cool. Um and one of the things that so we have clinicians that watch these videos who see, which by the way, like where do you want to go with neuroscience? I'm so curious, like what are your future plans?
I have no idea, actually. I kind of like research, but I also like doing clinical work too. So I think I want to do both. I have no idea
Okay.
exactly. Maybe like either like PT, OT, or like, I don't know, PhD or med school. I'm so confused, genuinely confused, but I just like, I find it very interesting and want to, like, I think it would be amazing to help people in the way like my therapist did for me.
Yeah.
Like, incredible.
I think you would be amazing. That's why I
Thank you,
ask.
thank you.
And you also like you don't have to know right now. Like you can keep exploring
Yeah,
things. You're at a great school to
yeah,
explore science. I think it's awesome that you can get back to like your STEM classes, which can be really intense.
yeah.
And like, but also you have this like kind of personal love of the brain
It's
now,
so
personal appreciation
cool.
of it,
No, it's
right?
so cool. It's
It's
crazy
so
because
cool.
I was talking to one of my therapists because he went to Davis and he was like, in this class, he was like, I learned this, like, the mammalian dive reflex. And I was like, oh my God, I have a great idea. So I would like go on the treadmill, I'd do like my 3 minutes or whatever, and then I'd stick my head in some cold water and I'd like watch my HRV change, and it would be like, okay, so your HRV dropped to like 3, and then it would go back up to like 40 from just sticking my head in the water. It like chilled my nervous system out
Wow.
completely.
Wow. So like personal ice bucket challenge kind of thing is
Yeah.
what you're doing. Wow, that's so cool. Well, yeah, I just realized like Malia and Michael both went to UC Davis,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
they did.
they're
Yeah.
yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Um, so what kind of message might you send to clinicians who are looking to, keep getting better when it comes to helping people post concussion? What kinds of things would you want a clinician to know?
I think that just like like a singular symptom, whether it be like visual or if it's like headaches or anything, it doesn't come from a singular area. And I think that's a lot of the times, especially with these things, anxiety is thrown around. Like
Mm.
that's the sort of cause a lot of the times. And I think that it's, yes, anxiety is probably a factor because if you have these crazy symptoms, you're probably gonna be a little anxious.
Yeah.
But I think it puts the blame on the patient and makes
Yeah.
people feel really isolated. And what I loved about reactive was that there was none of that. They were like, no, your neck, the sensory system, all these things are sort of integrated together. And I think sometimes when we get really into the details of, oh, your eyes aren't working, then you go see an ophthalmologist or whatever, they don't really see the integrated nature of these situations. And I think that's the main thing is that it's never one factor that causes it. So, like, I'd say to clinicians just like don't jump to conclusions about like what's causing it because it's usually a lot of things.
Wow. Okay, you could teach the class. Okay, Lucy, like let's sign you up to teach the class. That is profound. It really is. And sometimes in our world we want to find like one thing
Yeah,
and you know what? When it comes to like the brain and body, there's like just so much integration.
for sure.
So you've learned that like you are far ahead probably of your own professors, Lucy. So that is that is awesome. And then what might you share to a person who's been living with symptoms post concussion for a while and maybe they're like lost hope that they can get better? What would you say to them?
I would tell them honestly, like it's a process. You're gonna have times where you feel worse and times where you feel better, but don't put this blame on yourself because
Mm,
it's not gonna get you anywhere and you're gonna make mistakes, and that's how you sort of learn what your body can take at the time.
mm,
But I'd say like the most important thing is to figure out how to regulate your nervous system because that I would say is the key component for me getting better is figuring out what regulates my nervous system and then how can I incorporate that through pacing throughout the day and just give yourself compassion because you're going to make mistakes along the way and that's just what it is.
yeah, yeah. I feel that in my soul, Lucy. That's
Yeah.
like that's so great. And what might you say to a person who's maybe on the fence about doing an approach like we do, a kind of integrated team
I
approach?
would say like genuinely do it. You guys saved my life. Like I can't even express how grateful I am for that because it's just the team approach and sort of having the communication and multiple people listening and then talking to each other, I think is what made all the difference for me. And also just the different disciplines. Like I didn't really know what an OT did before this, especially in this setting. And now I'm like, oh my God, OTs are the most amazing people in the world. So I would say, yeah, do it because you need it. You don't know I didn't know why I needed an OT. I didn't know
Mhm.
why I should talk to like a rehab psychologist. And I think most people they say just do PT, but I think it's the integrated approach that's the reason I'm okay today.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're gonna keep going. So
Yeah.
are you in the midst of you probably had like a spring
Yeah.
break like a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
right? And so you're back into the
For
quarter.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. quarter of the year
Yes,
here?
yes. Thank goodness.
Yes,
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So we're gonna keep cheering you on here. I know you have to run because you have a life. You have to keep
Yeah,
moving
it's
today.
amazing.
So I know. That's great. Well, I can't wait to hear and to stay in touch with what's next for you, next
For sure.
adventure, your classes, when you
Yeah,
become a clinician and researcher, all of those things.
for
So
sure. Yeah,
keep us posted. And thanks so much for sharing your story.
of course. Thank you so much for starting Reactive. It saved me. So yeah.
All right,
All
Lucy,
right.
well, take care.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
you.
All right. Bye.